Are you a woman in business who has thought about chucking it all in and going back to a corporate job or going to work for somebody else? Because working for yourself in your own small business is freaking hard. If you are someone who's thought about it or maybe has done it for a while, has even gone back part-time to help supplement your small business income, then you won't be alone and you're going to love today's guest on the Hot and Healthy Show. So Dianne Brown is a chartered accountant with a powerful story. She currently works for SRJ Walker Wayland, but her backstory is what I really want to explore with her, because I think it's this conversation that's not being had that really needs to be had with more women so they can make the right choice for them. So lean in, tune in, watch all the way through this interview because I know you're going to love it and you're going to love Dianne. So thanks for tuning in, everyone, to the Hot and Healthy Business Show. I'm your host, Nicole Van Hattem, holistic success coach, TEDx speaker, and 3 times best-selling author. Welcome to the show, Dianne.
Thank you, Nicole. I'm a little bit nervous, but happy to be here.
I know you're nervous. You don't need to be. I'm very genuine when I've said this to you before recording and here at the beginning of the recording as well, is that I really believe that your story is one that needs to get out there and women need to be having real conversations about how challenging it is to be a woman in business, and maybe being in business for themselves isn't the right business choice for them. So first of all, thank you for being on the show. Second of all, tell us a little bit about you and your backstory.
Okay, I am a chartered accountant. I've been a chartered accountant for about 20 odd years now. I have spent my entire career working in, on and around small businesses, and I've always had a passion for teaching people the importance of financial literacy and trying to work out how we can do things better in business. So because I had so much exposure to small business, and because I had a passion for particularly adult type education, I had found myself over the years gravitating towards learning and development roles within the business and accounting profession. I was actually the learning and development manager for Queensland for PricewaterhouseCoopers for a while as part of our audit and business advisory services. So over the years, I gradually felt this real yearning to set up and work for myself. And I don't want to use put my money where my mouth is the phrase, but it was almost a case of I had these skills. I knew how to run a business. I'd been coaching businesses and working with businesses. I understood how to set it up. I understood all the structure requirements. I thought I knew everything there was to know about running a business. And I wanted to follow my passion, which was education and training and working with businesses to help them grow. So I set up my own business probably about 3 years or so ago now. And as part of that, one of the things that you forget is how isolating it is working for yourself. And one of the things that I quickly found was that, yes, I had gone through the full business strategic planning process with myself, by myself, but I forgot about the importance of linking family and lifestyle goals with business goals. And recognizing and identifying when they weren't compatible and identifying what to do when you're actually in that situation. And I think particularly as a working mum, that's really, really important, because I know for me, one of the other reasons I set up my business, and one of the other reasons that a lot of small businesses do set up, is they want the flexibility around families. And flexibility is fine, but we also forget that we actually have to factor in time for us, in downtime, and how to make the actual business work with all of those additional components. So the first thing that I realised was that my business and lifestyle and family goals weren't particularly well aligned. The second thing that I realised was I felt really lonely and very isolated, even though the business I was in was all about people and communicating and educating and training and working with people, and I loved it. it's very isolating when you're the one that has to make all the decisions and that it's all on you, and that you don't have anyone to share that with, because my partner's got a completely different background to me, my husband, and, you know, he got a bit sick of hearing about it and didn't really share that passion. So it's difficult. And so I got to the situation, which, as we do when you're starting up a business, is developing your network and the things that we want to do to add credibility to the product or service that we're actually offering. So in my situation, I also took on a second income stream in the form of lecturing at a well-known university, who I won't name, but lecturing and unit coordinating for part of the master's program of that university. So I made a lot of contacts, and, you know, it's a very demanding position, and I thought that I could do that, get the credibility and the exposure through that, have my own business and still keep a family and myself afloat. Clearly, in hindsight, that was not going to work. And I had got myself into a situation where I had to make a choice, and I had to make a choice fast, which was, do I put my health and my family before this business and my business goals and cut my losses and run? Or do I stick it out? And if so, how much longer do I stick it out, and what's the cost? And I got myself into a situation where the cost was too much, and I had to let it all go, even though it was actually a profitable business. And I think for me, I wish I had the opportunity to hear someone say, and which you said to me, Nicole, and God bless you and thank you so much, you're not a failure if you choose to pull the pin on your business. It's rebranding your success strategy. And I think as women in particular, we like to be successful. You know, you want to be able to do all these different things. And even if we make the decision that we're no longer going to do that, we do carry baggage about that. And I think it's time to admit that it's okay to let that baggage go, and that sometimes being in your own business is not the right decision for you, and that's okay. And so I've subsequently found myself in a situation where, you know, through good luck, through good design, through call it what you will, fate, where I am actually doing everything that I wanted to do in my own business. I'm educating people, I'm working with businesses, I'm helping them identify their goals, and I can share my experience with them. And I'm doing all that with the backing of a wonderful team, a brilliant business behind me in the form of SRJ Walker Whalen, and I'm probably doing it better than I would have if I'd continued down the path of my own, and I'm so much happier. And at the end of the day, I don't have to chase dollars. I'm not constantly chasing people to pay me. I get a wage. I get holidays and sick leave for the first time in 6 years. I had a public holiday on Monday, and I was like, oh my God, what is this? You mean I get paid to take the day off? What is this world? And I'm really happy. And it's been a long process, and I still struggle with admitting to people, particularly as a business advisor, that, yeah, I had my own business and no, it wasn't for me.
I think that is brave, because it's a conversation that women aren't having. And if they are having it, they're having it over a couple of glasses of wine, not wanting to admit to each other that this isn't working, that they're not actually thriving, and that it's costing what's most dear to them, which might be their relationships, their health, their quality of life. And I really think that we need to talk about this a lot more. I have a friend who's launching a book, which is going to start the conversation at a very, very high level worldwide, because women are sacrificing themselves for the pursuit of somebody else's definition of success. Now, if we aren't taking the time to consider what is our own definition, then we're chasing after something which might not be aligned. And this is something that you mentioned to me when we were talking previously about, you know, making sure that it's a lifestyle and business goal compatibility.
Yes. And I think that's something that we forget. You know, we go into, particularly as women, we start these businesses with the idea that we're going to be in control of our life. We're going to be in control of our finances. We're going to be able to control our hours around our kids. And the reality is it's rubbish. Because for me, I have never felt more out of control as I did when I was trying to run my own business, because it is constant juggling. Whereas now that I'm back working for someone else, I'm still doing the same work, but when I leave, I leave. I'm not going and thinking about, oh gosh, I haven't been paid for that job yet. When are they going to pay me? How am I going to pay my mortgage this week, you know, as well? So that's enormous for me. And I think also too, when we set out, and as an advisor, I actually think it's made me a better advisor for a couple of reasons. But one of the main things is that all business advisors or business coaches will talk to you about business goals, business goals, business goals. And we all understand that. We all understand the importance of linking relevant action items to their goals. What's not so well understood is the importance of identifying those lifestyle and personal goals as part of the same process, and making sure they're compatible right at the beginning, and having action items that support those goals, because it's a whole of life approach. It's not just about this is my business, this is my life. It's got to be compatible, or you'll end up in a really ugly space, which is where I ended up. And I dearly wish that I would have listened to my gut more and listened to other people more at the time who were saying to me, Di, are you sure this is what you really want? Are you sure it's worth it? You know, because I probably would have saved myself and my family a lot of heartache.
Right. So if someone's listening to this, which they are, listening or watching to this, and they're thinking to themselves, well, when is the time to push through and keep hustling? And when is the time to say, time out, not working? You know, because we're told constantly, just hang in there, just hang in there, just hang in there. One more day, one more week, one more month. It's about to turn the corner. How do you know when it's the right time to go time out?
That's a difficult question, and I think it's one every individual has to answer and be honest about it. If I'm honest, I saw the warning signs probably 4 months before I pulled the pin on my business, and it started getting a bit personal now, but I actually had a panic attack, and my children saw it, and I had never dealt with anxiety or anything like that previously. And in hindsight, that was a major red flag to me to go, what are you doing? And I kept going. And I had another one. And that's when, you know, my family stepped in and said, enough or we won't be here, basically.
Wow.
And it was awful. And we had to rebuild our family and our financial situation at the time. And for me, if I had have stopped and actually mapped out those lifestyle and business goals again, or had somebody, you know, go through that process with me at the time, instead of simply saying pull the pin, I think I would have found it easier to make that decision. And if I'd also have had somebody say to me, you're not a failure. It's okay to go, you know what, this isn't for me. And I was in a really lucky situation in that I was making money, you know, but it still wasn't what I wanted my family and my lifestyle to look like. That makes sense.
Absolutely. So
2 things that I would say is check in with yourself honestly. You know, honestly, if you are waking up at 2 a.m. in the morning regularly, like I was, is that what you want to do to yourself, to your family, to your loved ones? And really, are you operating at your most efficient if that's happening on a regular basis? Secondly, what do you want to get out of it long term? If it's financial freedom, there might be other ways you can get financial freedom. Consider other alternatives. just because you start something doesn't mean you have to finish it in 15 years, because that's what you wrote in your business goals back when you started, that you were going to finish this business in 15 years and sell it off for $1 million. For one, most people don't sell their businesses off for what they think they're going to sell them off for. And two, you might be dead in 15 years, divorced, homeless, or, your kids will have given up on you, or vice versa. So I think we need to be honest with ourselves, most importantly, I should say.
Absolutely. I started my own business at a point where I was already burnt out. So I was in the corporate world for 20 years and I had incredible successes and awards. You can see some of them in the background there, and worked my butt off and really served a lot of people. What I didn't take care of was me, and didn't take care of my relationship. So my second marriage was falling apart. My body was screaming at me, and I was terrified inside my own mind that something was going to crack that wouldn't be able to be fixed. So I went on a retreat, got some perspective, came back, left the corporate world, retrained, started my own business. And there's a mistake here. I was already burnt out. I hadn't recovered before I started my own business, and I did no training on how to run my own business. I'm a smart woman. I worked very high up in corporate, but I just thought that I'd be able to figure it out fast enough for it to be able to work. But I started at a low base, burnt out. No business acumen in terms of sales, marketing, all of the complexities of running your own small business. And then I was very passionate, so I kept convincing myself, this will work because I'm so passionate, therefore it must work. However, passion's not enough, is it?
No, it's not. Passion and drive are not enough. There's much more to running a business than passion and drive. And it's not even about the money. It's about putting in place processes to ensure that you follow those processes to get you through when you're feeling out of control, and to help you replicate what you do. Because if you don't have those processes, you're not being efficient. Before you can develop those processes, you've got to have a certain skill set. Now, it was really interesting because when I think about, what I was going to say to you from our conversation last week was about, making sure that you are aware of the basics of financial literacy, which is still important. Making sure that you've got the network there, making sure that you've documented all those various goals and action plans that we talked about. But yet I was at an innovation conference at Embrit on Friday, and they had it was all about innovation and growth and planning and funding and whatnot. And SRJ Walker Whalen, we actually ran one of the workshops there. But the keynote speaker was Steve Baxter from the Shark Tank. And they had a panel of people there from a number of different startup, support entities. And they were all saying that sometimes the best thing you can do is just do it. Just do it and worry about that sort of stuff later. And I'm not sure I agree with that. However, maybe it's a male thing. Maybe that works better for males. But I know as a female, I would like to be, I think you're in a better position in terms of, developing some of those key skill sets, particularly around financial literacy, things like cash flows, things like break-even point, things like KPI development. You need to know what they are to know what success looks like, to be honest, and to know when your business becomes viable, and to know how to fund your business growth with it being cash flow neutral and without it continually being a drain on your family or your pot of startup finances. Because most times a lot of us start businesses, we don't actually have that large pot of startup finances.
Right.
Are ways that you can learn how to grow that business without going cash flow negative, if that makes sense.
It does. I think one of the reasons I've been in business as long as I have, which is nearly a decade working for myself, and I've burnt out in my own business as well and had to take a significant break. My last burnout cost me $250,000.
Yeah, I can completely appreciate that.
And I recently wrote an article about, how much it cost me and the calculations. And it's scary. And I was facing burnout number 4, can you believe it? I'm really good at the burnout thing. I think that's why I specialize in anti-burnout strategies for women now, is because I can see the signs well and truly before they get to the point where they're putting their hand up, because most women won't put their hand up and go, you know what, I'm cracking, because they've probably started their business with no cash or support from family and friends, or they spent their life savings, or, you know, sold their car or did whatever they needed to do in order to start their passion business, and they don't want to put their hand up and say, I don't think this is going well, but I'm a little afraid to ask for help because I might already be seen as a failure. And I had a client recently, she's doing one of my private programs, and she said to me the other day, you gave me the courage to sell or give up actually an 800,000 a year turnover business that was costing me my health and my marriage.
Absolutely. And that's a massive decision. And people assume when you make those sort of statements that, oh, well, you must be rich and I'm not rich. And it's absolute rubbish, because, you know, I probably earn more now than I did working for myself, you know, and the paycheck goes in every fortnight. And I don't have all of the other baggage that goes with it. And I think we need to, you know, so much is put on the value of, you know, women out there doing it for themselves. Well, what about the women that are still doing it for themselves but are doing it with a team behind you? There's nothing wrong with that. There's shame in that. And I don't know, somewhere along the way in these conversations, we've lost sight of that, if you're simply working for someone else, you're not as good as somebody who's out there doing it themselves. That's actually not true. And why we see that as failure, even though, if I'm perfectly honest, I still have that little moment of I have to do this self-talk to say, no, Di, you're not a failure. You've just rebranded your success strategy, and you're choosing a lifestyle that's still doing what you want to do, but it's better for you and you're better for your family.
Right. And it also means that you're going to be able to show up in the role that you're doing in your employment with the whole fullness of you. Whereas if you're running on empty in your own business, are you really serving to the best of your capacity your client? So working for somebody else, you could actually be doing a much higher quality job and having, in your case, especially since you picked such an fabulous organisation to work with, having a bigger impact because all of you is coming, the best of you is coming to the role.
Absolutely. And I think sometimes they may regret having the best of me come in, because I'm very perky, so my energy. And I wasn't like that when I was working for myself. And it's because, I mean, too, the other thing that you have to consider is, and it's not necessarily, you know, extroverts may find it harder to work for themselves, but Nicole, I'm sure you must get lonely sometimes. You know, if you're working for yourself, you know, as an extrovert, I draw energy from other people, and I draw energy from, you know, feeling like I'm contributing and feeling like I'm making a difference. Even though I was doing similar type of work, I wasn't out there as much, and I was spent more time on my own at home in an office, and I found that difficult. And, you know, I didn't get to recharge my batteries with other people, or even have a whinge about something with other people, because you've only got your husband and your kids there and they get sick of hearing things.
I used to love, you know, the chats around the water cooler and the coffee machine. It's like, oh man, I just need to go and vent. And you'd go to, but now I go into the kitchen, it's me.
Yes. Yeah. So I think that's also too, you've got to consider that, like different personality types might be, you know, might need to consider, like if you are an extrovert like I am, you might need to consider, well, if I am going to work for myself, how am I going to get that energy injection that I get from being with other people and talking to other people? And that there are ways you can address that. Obviously, networking is a great one. You know, you've outside of your normal friendship bases and your clients, because, you know, you can't treat the clients the same way that you treat your workmates in terms of that relaxed relationship. Well, that's assuming you do have a good work environment like we do here. But, you know, I understand that not every place is like that. And I guess I have to preface this whole conversation by saying, look, I'm really blessed with where I have ended up, because I am in a place that reflects my values. So if you are going to think about chucking in your business, you need to sit down. And one of the things I did is I wrote a list of, okay, what's important to me? What does the place that I want to go to look like? And I had quite a few people, recruitment agencies in particular, say to me, oh, you're dreaming. That doesn't exist.
Really?
You know, you want a place that's supportive and inclusive and flexible work hours, and you're not sure you just want to do financial statements and tax returns. Oh, you'll never find that. Well, bugger me, I'm here and I did. So as long as you're honest with yourself about what you want, and I did go to interviews where I did get a vibe and thought, yeah, you know, that's not for me. Or even before the interview stage, they would say, oh, you know, Di, I'm not sure if they're keen on, because I only work 4 days a week now. Brilliant for the family. It's not 5 days a week or 7 days a week as it was in your own business, 4 days a week. And, I had a lot of backlash from potential employers and also from employment agencies saying to me, you're never going to get a part-time job. It's all full-time. Or people don't want remote workers. Or, well, there are businesses out there and you just have to do your homework. But you've got to have a list. So you've got to have a list of, if I lose my business, if I give my business up and choose to close it down, which is very different to being forced to. And I think we need to make that classification too. So I made a decision that was in my best interest. It's completely different to having a bank or someone else make your decision. So I chose to walk away from it, which is probably more, for me, I find that more empowering if I say it in those words. If I didn't, I was going to lose my family and have a breakdown, which may have been closer to the truth at the time. So I can't remember where I was going.
Make a list. You need to know what it is you want. If you're going to give up your business, who do you actually want to work for? What environment?
Yeah, what does it look like? What does the role look like? What do you look like when you're doing that job? And more importantly, go back to why you set up your business in the first place. Because for most of us, it's about flexibility. It's about being able to do what we're passionate about. So find another business that will give you that ability to keep doing what you're passionate about. I'm not saying give up your passion. I'm just saying find another alternative. And I have, and it's worked brilliantly.
I'm thrilled that it's worked really well for you. And I know that there are a lot of people tuning into this who are thinking they might have left it a bit late to pull the pin, and they're starting to see, now how do I get out of this? Where can they go to get some advice?
Well, I think the first thing that you need to think of is what contracts do you have in place. So if you've actually contracted to work, then obviously you've got to consider, if you're going to break a contract, what's going to be the penalties associated with that? So you need some legal advice around that. If you're not on a contract basis, I think just sitting down and talking with your accountant, your family, and honestly with your girlfriends, because they'll be honest. Because mine were honest and I chose not to listen. Like your true friends. My true friends were saying to me, and when I say my true friends, I mean the ones that I don't keep the facade on with. There's only a hand, two in particular. And they would say, Di, cut the bullshit. Seriously, look at what you're doing to yourself. Is it worth it? Talk to those people because they will be honest. Not the people that say, oh, Di, you can do it. You'll be fine. Stick with it. You just got to write it out. They may be saying what they think you want to hear or what their definition of success is. But what's your honest definition of success? So I honestly think a lot of it comes back to your gut. Because as I said, from my perspective, if I look at my business plan, I was ticking off those action items. I was working towards that end goal. But I did end up with an income stream, a large income stream that was no longer a direction I wanted to go. So it was actually easier, I think, in that situation for me, in that even though the business was profitable and even though I was ticking off things that I set out to achieve, a large chunk of my income was coming from a source that I had never set out to get an income stream from, but sort of fell in my lap. But I wasn't passionate about it. I didn't love it. I didn't really want to keep doing it. So it made it easier. And it goes back to that emotional energy that you were talking to. did I then have the emotional energy to say, okay, I'm going to walk away from that income stream and focus on the lesser income streams in my business and get that kick-started and going where I want to be? Or do I just want to go, you know what, I'm tired. I need a couple of months off. I need to reposition myself. I need to get back in contact with my family and myself and my health, start meditating, start walking the dog, start doing my yoga, and work out where I want to be for me first, for my lifestyle goals and my family goals second, and then figure out how I'm going to actually be best placed to do that. That was the process I had to go through.
That's brilliant advice. And I love that. It makes it very clear and easy to understand. Because I think that is an issue. We are focusing, particularly women, we tend to put ourselves last in that order. You put yourself first when you actually had to get down to the core of survivability. So I talk a lot about personal sustainability in business. So whether you're working in your business or somebody else's business, it's about personal sustainability. If you are sacrificing what's most important to you, most valuable to you, which is you, to serve somebody else, we kind of miss the point. So I love the fact that you've got, you first, family lifestyle goals next, business clients third. And I think we need to reinforce that. We need to call each other out as women and say, where are your priorities? Because your girlfriends will see it. They'll see you drinking too much, looking tired and ragged and grumpy and edgy, not the sparky
shopping for that instant fix.
Yes, absolutely. And call each other on it and just say it's not okay. It's just not okay to sacrifice yourself for a business or for a job. Where are the priorities? And there's enough research now that talks about, the 5 regrets of the dying. And one of them is, I wish I hadn't worked so much. Another one is, I wish I'd stayed in contact with my friends. So, I mean, we don't need to relearn this. We just need to remind each other and call each other out on our own stuff.
Absolutely. And change our self-talk. Because just because you chose to fold a business or cease operating in your business does not make you a failure. It simply means you're rebranding your success strategy. It's not for me. You don't even need to explain why it's not for you, but it's not for me, but I'm still a success. And I think it's about rebranding our own personal messages that we send ourselves in our head. And I'm still learning how to do that, to be brutally honest. I still am. I still have my days where I struggle with that. I still have my days where I struggle with my work-life balance because I am a very driven person, but I am much more mindful of it, and I am much more grateful for what I have and where I am in life. And so I'm lucky. I'm out the other end. But for those people that are still in it, I would say listen to yourself, listen to your heart. And if you are having a panic attack, it is never worth it. Nothing is worth keeping yourself in a heightened state of anxiety. No business, no job, nothing. You've got to put your health first. And I wish I would have listened to my body, because a panic attack is a physical thing that your body is trying to say to you, too much, stop, for me. And I ignored it till I had another one. Just this one.
Slow learner.
Yes.
Well, thank you. I'm very grateful that you shared your story. It's something that I know you were feeling quite nervous about, and I'm really, really grateful that you did share it. I know that this is going to help a lot of other people. And if you're tuning into this video or the podcast recording version of this, please listen to your body, listen to your intuition. Business, owning your own business is not for everyone. It doesn't fit everyone's lifestyle, and maybe you just need to take some time out to rethink it. So Di, thank you so much for being a guest on the Hot and Healthy Show.
You're welcome. Thank you, Nicole, and thank you for the great positive message that you put out there for us females in business. It's inspiring, and I appreciate it. And I really value the honest conversations that you have on your show. So thank you.
Thank you. And if people want to get in contact with you, how can they reach you?
They can reach me via SRJ Walker Wayland, or on my mobile, which is, am I allowed to give my mobile out?
Sure.
Do people normally do that?
No, but if you want to, you go right ahead.
Perhaps I shan't give my mobile out. Contact me at Dianne, so dianne.brown@srjww.com.au.
And I'll put that in the show notes as well so people can easily see that link.
That'd be wonderful. Thank you so much, Nicole. I appreciate it.
So those who are listening into the Hot and Healthy Show, either on iTunes, Stitcher as a podcast, or on YouTube, or on the website, or on Facebook, make sure you go to nicolevanhaddam.com and find out about our next retreat for women in business, because you need to learn the skills on how to be hot in business and healthy for life. You definitely deserve to have more success with less stress, and that begins with redefining what success means to you. And we have a 3 nights and 4 days away for women in business retreats coming up all the time. So find out when the next one is near you. And remember, be hot and healthy.